Polish train manufacturer Newag, that's what I'm going to call it, is under investigation by regulators following allegations that it installed DRM-like software on its trains that caused them to fail to restart after certain set triggers in order to drive more service work to itself. One competitor, SPS...
it sounds pretty smart to me. You just get to do more, you get more service revenue.
Yeah, which is probably good money, because they're going to really want those trains back on the rails. One competitor, SPS, was hit with fines equivalent to 462,000 euros. Dang! Because Newag trains for the Lower Silesian Railway it serviced would fail to restart afterwards. I'm assuming after servicing. The rail operator then sent the trains to Newag, who easily fixed them for an additional fee. Suspiciously, trains that hadn't been recently serviced but had sat unused in storage for significant periods of time started failing in a very similar manner. In response, SPS, brilliantly, in my opinion, whoever had the thought of doing this, very good move. SPS hired a Polish hacking collective called Dragon Sector, sick name, by the way, way to go on that one, to investigate. According to Dragon Sector, the trains were intentionally programmed to stop working under certain conditions, such as certain components being replaced without a manufacturer-approved serial number. These included an idle timer that would stop the train from starting if it sat for over 10 days, possibly under the assumption that it was undergoing servicing. After trains started failing after only being stored, a new trigger was programmed in that added geofencing around competitors' workshops so that the trains would instead lock up after being brought to those facilities. Newag is denying these allegations and claims that these issues were caused by third parties interfering with the train's security features.
I love how often the security card gets played.
Yeah.
Anytime a company gets caught doing something scummy.
Sometimes it is legitimate.
Yeah,
this time, no.
I said when they get caught doing something scummy.
Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing how, because most people either don't understand security very well or especially don't care. Their eyes just glaze over the second you start talking about any kind of digital security or anything like that. And they're like, is he badgering me to install a password manager again? I like my 1234 love password, or whatever the case may be. So if there's any way to get people bored of a conversation, it's to say, it's in the name of user security, and then just start saying a bunch of stuff, and people will just kind of gradually drop out of interest and go about their day.
The private key needs to go in the and then like 98% of people just disconnect.
Anyway, basically that's bad, and it should be obvious why that's bad. And this is a great illustration of why companies like Apple should not be allowed to do similar things, and a great example of what Apple, if left to their own devices, might have eventually come up with for iPhones if they weren't ultimately able to stop people from repairing these things through serialization and all the other means that they put in place to prevent people from repairing their own iPhones and from third parties.
It's somewhat stunning to me how many people will do this stuff and not out their own companies, I guess. It's interesting.
I don't know. I mean, people do far worse than this for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
But
be realistic.
Yeah.
Think of the things you've done.
The horrible things.
Yeah, the horrible things.
Yeah, no, I think maybe it's my bubble of like finding recruitment kind of hard. But I feel like software developers, like if you're like, I'm going to defraud my own country, basically. It's like, yeah, you could probably get another job.
Sorry, you're saying that software developers have a tendency to always be the good guys in the story?
No.
Oh.
How?
Sorry. I thought you were saying like someone would see the idea of defrauding their own country and then resign from the job. rather than go do it.
I'm saying in this particular case, I think
Yeah.
if you work in that field, you have a high chance of finding another job. I can understand for some positions, some jobs, it might be like, this is the only way I'm going to get bread on the table.
I think a lot of people just don't care, Luke. I think a lot of developers would just develop a button that like kills a random person and deposits $1 million into the company's bank account as long as they get a piece of it. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just wish that wasn't a thing. That's all I'm saying.
I also think that, I mean, okay, but like, okay, here's another thing. Look at the arguments around net neutrality. Look at the arguments around right to repair, especially when you start getting into the Apple ecosystem and the people who are just kind of, I don't know how to describe it other than brainwashed. I'm really sorry. When we made that video about the iMac Pro that Apple wouldn't repair at our cost, the number of people that attacked us for it, when we basically said, yeah, it's pretty obvious that just, replacement parts should be a thing at a reasonable price. It shouldn't cost as much for just some pieces of a component as it costs for the entire, or some pieces of a machine as it costs for the entire machine, including those pieces. That doesn't make any sense. The number of people that attacked us for it, when that's just math. It's not political. It's just obvious. So no, maybe in some people's minds, it makes perfect sense that if you are the manufacturer of a train, you should be the only one who's allowed to fix it because, someone else might bung it up or whatever the case may be, which is not an entirely illegitimate concern.
I just don't think that's what even happened. They were taking these trains off the rails.
I know. I just mean as a preventative measure.
Not even just to not get other people to work on them, though. They were doing it randomly in order to get more service money.
Well, you got to make sure that they're running fine. And maybe that's the way it was sold internally. Maybe they weren't even honest internally with the developers who developed this system. Maybe they just told them that, hey, we have found that the customers for these trains are not performing service at the recommended intervals. We need to make sure that the trains are shutting down at such time as the regular intervals should be done or whatever. And
it wasn't coded that way.
And here's I'm just saying there's a lot of room for gray area. I'm not saying they should do this. It's obviously terrible. I'm just saying that just because a developer codes this feature doesn't mean that they agree, and even if they do agree, or doesn't mean they understand, and even if they do understand, it doesn't mean they agree, and even if they agree, it doesn't mean that they're not an idiot. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I disagree. It's bad. It's definitely very bad. All right.
Man, I have to get signed back into the dock, but people can see my hands, so I have to fake that I'm pressing keys that I'm not pressing, and it's getting all...
Oh, I never talk about that trick.
Yeah.
I just kind of...
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Sometimes I type really funny stuff.
I like that. That's actually hilarious.
Sure.
I'm gonna hide my hands. You don't get to see my hands.
I can see your hands.
You can.
No.
Oh, you can see this bit.
Well,
You can't see this entire hand.
No, okay. Well,
Have fun with your one letter you're gonna see me input.
Here, I'm gonna enter one of the letters. We'll just hope that whatever letter I enter is one that's goes there.
Yeah, it was pretty
Did
good.
I get it?
I mean, it was in the alphabet.
Nice. But was it in the numeric?
Take note, chat. His password has characters in it.
And it's definitely English. Actually, it might not be English.
There we go. Yeah, most of mine actually, they mix it up sometimes.
Not English.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
that's cool. I should use that.
I'm hesitant. I have one trick for passwords that I love so much, but I don't know if I want to say it, because one of the reasons why it's good is because a lot of brute force password guessers never get it because they don't incorporate it. So I don't know if I want to popularize its use. I think I want to keep this one for myself.
See, that's the thing though. That's a bad mentality, and you know that.
Should I share it?
Well, but then it's the constant cat and mouse game, right? How do you help people have better security without also informing the other side? And then how does the other side
if I do that,
their
then
stuff
just
without also
none of us
informing
have it.
But no, that is
because because it's a great trick.
I would say that is not an LTT attitude. We are
So
a
should I
sharing
share
is
it then?
caring. I'm not saying you should.
I technically don't work for Linus Media Group anymore.
I'm still going to have to change your 700,000 passwords when you get hacked now.
I never said people couldn't get me, just to be clear.
Yeah, this is not a challenge. I'm sure if someone wanted to hack through my box, or they could get in there.
I can just say it.
Chat mostly says don't do it, but then some of them were like, give us the tech tip, because that's kind of what we do, is give people tips that are useful for a little while until, the ne'er-do-wells go and update their shit, and then we have to come up with a new tech tip, and that's how we all stay employed, because there always needs to be a new tech tip.
What if I arm people to potentially figure it out themselves?
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a compromise. That's a good compromise.
A lot of passwords can take characters that don't normally get typed, especially that don't normally get typed for passwords. Consider this.
My passwords are all going to be emojis now.
Especially when you're thinking about brute forcing, because like when it comes to guessing or social engineering or someone just getting in your password manager or anything like that, or key logging, it's not going to matter what you do, right? Like they just have your password now.
Yeah.
But if it comes to brute forcing, there's a lot that you can do to make your passwords more brute force resilient while still not making them really annoying to
enter,
like visually enter or whatever else.
To remember, that's a big one for me. Is I like my passwords to be something that I can retain in my brain for long enough to like shit it out into a keyboard or character map, as it were.
Yeah. Yep.
Confirmed. Luke's password is Lennyface. Thanks, Navy Rymar. Love it.